Try to keep me entertained, okay? That's what I'm talking about!
Atmosphere is extremely important, both figuratively and literally. Without atmosphere, we would all be dead, and the figurative meaning of atmosphere would cease to exist. Stupid jokes out of the way, in film or any style of media production, atmosphere is pretty much the tone or mood of the work in question. Atmosphere is an extremely crucial aspect of making a series better. Well-produced atmosphere can make a bad series good, and vice versa. When I think of one of my favorite anime, Steins Gate, the atmosphere in the series is able to distinguish the tone, as well as the world that Okabe and the others live in. However, take a show like Sky Wizards Academy and you can see how well done its atmosphere is compared to Steins Gate. Ideas aren't explored, the world is nothing special, you get the picture. So as you can tell, atmosphere in anime is important, and I believe that today's series does atmosphere as well as plenty of other things very well. What's up guys, it's Kent from Spartan Media Reviews here to review the anime Shiki. Does this show deserve a watch? Let's find out. Welcome to Sotoba, the most boring place on the face of the earth. Having only 1,300 people to its name, nothing really happens in this village. However, once a new family moves in, people start to die of anemia, and no one knows why. It's now up to the doctor, Toshio, as well as a few brave others to find out why people are dying and how to stop this from happening. I love Shiki's story. Right from the beginning of the series, Shiki captured my attention with its well-produced atmosphere. It sets up the world our characters live in right from the get-go, not really even introducing the true main character of the show until after the first episode. The narrative of this show is also something I wish more series did, as it contained multiple tones in its writing, but not utilizing them all at once. The beginning of the series plays the concept out to be like a disease, where people are dying with no known cause, making the style of the show more of a mystery, as we aren't given enough information to understand the full picture of things. As more ideas of the narrative come about, the tone of the show then starts to change periodically, moving away from the mystery style to that of a suspense thriller, which I really enjoyed. The suspenseful and thrilling elements of the show were that much better thanks to the show not giving away any of its story's elements. By utilizing techniques like discontinuity editing as well as a slower pace during plenty of points, the show makes you wonder what exactly is happening. You know that the show is a horror series with the concept surrounding vampires, but the show sometimes makes you think otherwise. Finally, the tone of the show changes again in its final third from a suspense thriller to just plain insanity when everything just blows out of proportion, which was probably the weakest aspect of the story. It just happens at one point, and while wildly entertaining, it becomes illogical at many points. Shiki's narrative also houses a really interesting theme, although it does become very preachy at points. By the end of the show, I was asking myself who exactly was in the right. Both sides of the spectrum had their own ideals on what is the correct way to live, and no one went out of their way to do something that isn't normal of their kind. The Shiki and villagers were both just trying to survive, so who was correct? That's up for the viewer to interpret. Parasite the Maxim used this theme in its narrative as well, so if you enjoyed that aspect of its story, you will like that aspect of Shiki's story as well. The show also likes to ask questions about life and death, both figuratively and literally, sometimes using the concepts of biblical stories like Cain and Abel as well to get its point across. The specials, episodes 20.5 and 21.5, also do a fantastic job in looking at the psyche of both the villagers and the Shiki. While being much more gore-heavy and brutal to watch, the specials once again make you question if what each side is doing is just or not. The specials certainly give more favor towards the sadness of the Shiki, using the nursery rhyme 3 blind mice at one point while capturing and brutally killing off the remaining Shiki in the village, having an interesting juxtaposition of both sides of the story. In short, Shiki's story does very well in 3 things: atmosphere, tonal shifting, and thematic progression. You may not like these 3 aspects of Shiki's narrative, but they are at least apparent in this series. Shiki contains a fantastic main character with a pretty weak supporting cast. The show certainly has far too many characters as they try to give them as much screen time as possible, which usually still does little to no good in learning more about the characters themselves. By far, the best character in the series was the doctor, Toshio. His entire character revolves around everything that is going on, and you can see the transformation of his mind as the narrative advances. The show plays very well to his personality and his occupation, as we see his mindset become more and more unstable as each life he tries to save fails horribly. The show never really utilizes any positive moments out of his character either, as he pretty much loses everything until he literally goes insane, as we see throughout numerous scenes in the show. The two other main characters, Seishin and Sunako, I feel take a little too long to reach the high points of their development. Considering Sunako is the poster child of the series, I thought that she would have a little more impact on screen compared to her being an intricate role off screen. Seishin has a very solid start as a character, but soon levels off during the halfway mark of the show. However, I will say the final episodes surrounding both characters are very well executed and is certainly the highlights of their progression. Both characters are able to accept what is happening and adapt to that in whichever way they see fit. The rest of the cast have some good and bad moments, but mostly suffer in the progression department. During the show's initial episodes, I was really looking forward to how they were going to progress some of these characters, and at first they were doing a really nice job with that aspect. We had an idea about their personality and what they wanted to become, making it seem like its cast would be well thought out. However, the show killed off too many characters far too quickly, and while it made the narrative extremely thrilling, it caused its cast to suffer greatly. I think the most disappointing aspect of the cast was the weak main villain of the show, as they only felt like a plot device compared to an actual character. In the end, it isn't a horrible cast, but it needed to be a lot better to stand on the level of its fantastic story. Shiki's animation had its good and bad points. General animation for the show was quite nice, utilizing nice backgrounds and well-framed shots. This in turn helped create that wonderful atmosphere that we see in the show. The color palette for this show was also utilized correctly, especially on the character designs. Speaking of character designs, the character designs in this series is where people will have mixed opinions on the animation, excluding the hair, which was absolutely fabulous. The designs of almost every character was extremely thin looking. It's not even the body type that's the problem, but the arms on a lot of our characters just looked weird during a lot of shots, looking almost paper thin. It does grow on you as the series progresses, but I do wish they looked a little better. Both openings of the series like to be in your face, blasting you with plenty of visual effects and utilizing a technique known as parallelism, or Mickey Mousing, to time its animated movements to the beats of the song they are accompanied by. I especially love the ending shots of the first opening. It's chaotic at first, using flashes to move around Natsuno's character, but then it transitions into a spooky and suspenseful tone as we see the blood rain drip onto the skull at a timed pace. The endings, while simplistic in terms of animation, are still very well drawn, also utilizing lots of clashing colors and effects to give both endings a sort of surrealistic look and feel. Shiki's soundtrack is along the same lines as series like Another. It contained music that helped create a very chilling atmosphere, but no track was standout worthy. The first opening is fantastic, utilizing the thrilling elements of its narrative and animation, while I wasn't that big of a fan of the first ending. It felt too much like a song that would play with a school-like drama compared to a horror/thriller series. I found the second ending to be a much better rendition of what I expected out of Shiki's tone, while I found the second opening to be less appealing compared to the first, but they still both do a great job in capturing Shiki's overall tone. The voice acting for this show, which I watched in English, was so good. Honestly, I didn't expect the dub to be as good as it actually was, and I was thoroughly impressed with it. Now, with everything that I have said, do I recommend watching Shiki? Absolutely. While there were some negatives with this show, Shiki combined multiple elements into its product that I really liked. It contained a chilling atmosphere, gripping narrative, well thought out themes and messages, as well as a well developed main character, good overall animation, and a suspenseful soundtrack. I can happily say that Shiki is now my favorite horror related anime, and one that you should watch as well. Give the show a chance if you are looking for a horror themed series. Spartan Media Reviews gives Shiki a fantastic recommendation. If you are interested in watching Shiki, you can check out the series on Hulu or Funimation's website. Now, what are your thoughts on Shiki? Comment below. If you enjoyed this review, hit that like button. I would really appreciate it. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I would really appreciate that as well. Follow me on Twitter and Hummingbird to keep up to date with the current things that I am doing. And with all that said, I will catch you guys in my next review. Thank you for watching.